Hey guys, it's Nicole and welcome to Archie's 6-month update. This little guy is officially half a year old. Yay! Yay! Don't ask me where that last 6 months has gone. But yes, we are at 6 months already. It's just absolutely crazy. This little guy is getting so much bigger every day and just doing so much stuff now. It's just absolutely crazy. So starting off with his statistics, he is now 8.1 kilos, which is just like crazy. You're getting so big. He is got a 44 centimeter head and he is 68 centimeters long. He is still wearing a 2-0 at the moment, or 3 to 6 month clothing. There are a few items which he could probably get away with a 0, but most of his clothes, well yeah, 99% of his clothes are 2 zeros. He has moved up a size in disposable nappies, so I've been putting him in the toddler size, which is 10 to 15 kilos, purely because we're only really using them at night, and he needed that extra absorbency because he was starting to leak through by the morning. So we went up a size just for the extra absorbency, and then in terms of cloth nappies, which he's in the day, he's just in one size, fits most, and we've had to move up a rise in those as well. So he is definitely getting bigger. He is getting so active. So within the last few weeks he has started to army crawl. All of a sudden, just out of nowhere, he just decided to start army crawling, which is pretty exciting. He does get up on his hands and knees and rock as if he's going to like properly crawl on his hands and knees, but he sort of just rocks there for a few seconds and then just flops down and army crawls instead, because I guess that's easier. He is also starting to pull himself up, which is just crazy. Like, he'll come up to you, especially in bed in the morning, and he will use you as leverage to sort of pull himself up from like being on his tummy onto his hands and knees. And he has a few times been able to get from that position to sort of like half standing type thing, but he just doesn't have the strength to really stand for very long by himself. What else are you doing, mister? He talks a lot. He is so inquisitive. When you are putting him to bed now, he ends up in all different positions. Every time I check on him, he's in a different position in the cot. So he rolls from one end to the other, flips between his back and his tummy. So he's just all over the place in the cot. It's just ridiculous. He is so interested in the world around him. He just wants to be in on everything. Like I've said in previous updates, he just loves being outside, in his pram, going for walks, anywhere that's really not the four walls of his house. Even like we have this massive play mat in the living area with all his toys, and he would much rather just come up and hang with his dad in the office, which there's no toys or anything, but he kind of just makes fun rolling around the room and that sort of stuff. He had his first cold the other week, which was really really sad. It was horrible to see him unwell. It only lasted probably a few days, and of those days there was only like 2 really bad days, but he got over it pretty quickly. We just had to delay his immunizations by a week or so, just because I didn't want to give it to him while he was unwell. Something that was picked up at his 6-month checkup, and it was actually something that I brought up with the doctor. I hadn't personally noticed this, but a friend of mine had noticed that sometimes, yes, sometimes with Archie's eyes, when he's looking directly at you, it looks like one of his eyes is turned in more than the other, which is called like a squint. Not quite like a lazy eye, but yeah, it's ever so slightly. So I brought that up with the GP, and she actually had noticed as well. So we have an appointment on the 5th of October to have that checked out by a pediatric ophthalmologist. So I will keep you guys updated about that. He'll end up being like 7 months at that appointment, or just a few days shy of 7 months. So it'd be really interesting to see what she says. I hadn't noticed it myself, but once it was brought up and I looked back at pictures on my phone that I had taken, I definitely noticed what they were talking about. It doesn't happen all the time. Like in some of the photos, like his eyes are even, but in some of them definitely one is turned in more than the other. If I remember, I'll try to insert a photo so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. Hopefully it's nothing really to worry about. If it's left untreated, obviously it can develop further into like a lazy eye and that sort of stuff. We are definitely trying to get on top of it sooner rather than later. The GP did say that you can treat it with like an eye patch or something to strengthen the eye, but if you know that's the cause of it, but we'll just wait and see what comes from that appointment. Other than that, he is completely healthy and happy and meeting all his milestones. He's on the 50th percentile for weight, height and head circumference, I'm pretty sure she was saying. He has increased his feeds finally, so he's up to about 180 ml feeds about every 4 hours now. We're stretching them out, and he is getting better with his nighttime sleeping, which is great. Just in the last week or so, we've been trying to introduce a bit of a routine. I was kind of a bit against introducing a routine when he was younger because I just wanted him to feed on demand and sleep when he wanted and that sort of thing. But now that he's getting a bit older, I definitely notice if he hasn't had good sleep throughout the day, then it really does affect his night sleeping, and it affects his moods and stuff throughout the day. He doesn't want to play, he's just so cranky if he doesn't get good sleeps. So because of that, I'm really trying to make sure that he has good sleeps during the day, and that actually has had a good effect on his nighttime sleeping. So like I said in my last update, he kind of reverted back to newborn sleep where he was waking up he was waking up about every 2 to 3 hours wanting to feed, and I would just give him the bottle because I thought that's what he wanted. But now that his day sleeps are sorted, he's going longer at night. And what I kind of realized, because I was thinking, oh, I'm not feeding him enough, so then I tried to increase his feeds when overnight, and then I decreased his feeds, and no matter how much I fed him, he was still waking up every 2 to 3 hours. So I kind of thought it's probably now habit more than it is that he actually is hungry. And since implementing the daytime sleep routine, he has done a lot better overnight. He normally goes down to bed anywhere from 6 to 6:30, sometimes to 7, but mostly he's going down to bed at a reasonable time, which is really nice because then Ryan and I can sit down and have dinner and stuff together. And then he will wake up. He's been waking up between 9 and 10 at night, in which we're trying to just resettle him without feeding. That's going alright some nights, and then other nights, like last night, we would settle him down, but then within 10 minutes he would be unsettled again. So in the end, after like an hour of trying to settle him, we did give him a feed, but then he didn't wake up after that until 4:45 in the morning, which is like the longest really that he's gone in such a long time. So he is getting better. Like the last few nights he's only woken up that like twice, so I'm happy with that. Obviously it would be nice if we could get it down to 1, but yeah, it's a work in progress. I'm also trying to not give him the dummy so much. He only ever really took the dummy for sleep anyway, but if I can get him to sleep without that dummy, I figure it's better to get him out of that habit now than it will be when he's older. Hey, and you're getting a bit bored now. Do you want me to put you down? Okay. He was also in the habit of always sleeping on me, which is completely 100% my fault because I really enjoyed having him sleep on me during the day, but I did realize that it meant that I wasn't getting anything done, I wasn't eating properly, he wasn't getting like a really good sleep because I would just sit on the couch with him while he's sleeping, watch TV, that sort of stuff. So when I decided to introduce a bit of a routine, I decided that we would make him have his sleeps in his cot during the day as well, and that has been going actually really well. The first few days he wasn't quite happy about it, but now I just basically put him into his cot, give him a little bit of a pat and a shush, and he goes right off to sleep. Today he had a 2.5 hour nap this morning, which is just amazing. He would never sleep that long if he was on me. He would just sort of like have cat naps and stuff like that, and He is definitely a lot happier for it because he is sleeping so well. I am also contemplating whether or not to move his cot back into his room, which is where I'm filming now. Currently it is next to our bed in our bedroom, and I'm just contemplating whether or not to move it back in here because I'm wondering if he will sleep better during the night as well, because he normally wakes up at that between 9 and 11, and that's normally about the time that Ryan and I are going to bed. So I don't know if it's us coming into the room, even though we try to be quiet. We come in, we use the ensuite to like brush our teeth and go to the toilet before bed and stuff, and even though we are quiet, I'm wondering if that unsettles him a little bit, and then it is quite an effort to resettle him after that. So I'm wondering if by being in his own room that perhaps he won't wake up and he might have a bit more of a restful sleep. I'm really on the fence about it still. I like the idea of him sleeping better and stuff, but I just don't know if I'm ready for him to not be in my room. It's really cute in the morning when he wakes up now. He doesn't cry, he sort of just chills in the cot and like pops his head over the rails or between the rails and looks at me and coos and chats away. So I really like that. And then sometimes I bring him into bed with us. So I don't know, I could still do that. It just means that I'd have to get out. It just means I'd have to get out of bed and bring him into our room, which I guess isn't such a big deal since it's just a few steps away from our room. But yeah, it's always a big it's always a bit nerve-wracking when you're doing these milestones. Hey, I honestly don't think he would really notice that much. I wasn't super against having a routine and like sleep training as such, but I definitely have noticed such a huge improvement in him. I'm not talking like putting him in the room and letting him scream for hours or anything like that. Just like putting him in the bed and just staying with him and shushing and comforting him in the cot without him being in my arms as such. Obviously if he does get upset or anything like that, I pick him up and settle him back down, but most of the time, as long as I'm close by, he's more than happy. So it's actually worked a lot better than I thought it was going to. I was really against it if it required like crying it out and that sort of stuff. Also, now that he is 6 months old, we have started baby-led weaning. He has been doing it now for a few weeks and he is doing so well with it. At first he would, you know, be trying to put food into his mouth and it would end up like all over here, like everywhere but his mouth. Now he's getting so good at picking things up and putting them straight into his mouth. He's working out how to pick up little things and get them in his mouth. Like he will pick it up and bring it to his mouth, and if he can't get it in, he sort of like lets go and like pushes it into his mouth. Like he is getting so good with actually getting the food to where it needs to go. He munches away on it. His gag reflex is getting a lot better. At first he was gagging quite a bit, but that really only lasted a few days really, and now he's actually swallowing his food, which is like great, because at first like he would just munch it and sort of spit it out. He loves exploring all the textures and everything. His favorite foods, I would say so far, is he loves oranges. I just cut them up into little wedges and he just goes to town on it, gets juice all over him, just absolutely loves it. Ryan gave him pear yesterday and apparently he loved that as well. He's not a huge fan of broccoli, which is one of the first foods that we gave him, and carrot. I think he's probably over it because we tried to give him that like quite a few times. He's tried cheese and chicken, pumpkin, sweet potato, zucchinis, carrots, broccoli, banana. He's had banana and mango. He loved mango. Hold on. He's just trying to pull himself up onto me. What else have you eaten that you really liked? You like avocado? You like toast? What else do you really like? Tomato. He loves tomato, which is good. I hate tomato, but he seems to really love it. He hasn't really not liked any foods yet. He will try everything. Everything goes straight into the mouth, even if it isn't food really. And yeah, he seems to be doing really well with it. I've tried giving him some purees every now and then, and he will sometimes take it, but he mostly just wants to be in control of his food. He makes such a mess, which It's lots of fun. Not so much fun to clean up, but he is loving it. What else do you want to tell them? Oh, do you want to tell them about your teeth? Do you want to tell them about your teeth? So he is teething at the moment. It hasn't been too bad this week. Oh yes, that's Mama's hair. That's Mama's hair. Yeah, let go. Good boy. But when he was sick, he also was teething. So it was like, yeah, it was a really rough week. Of course, it was a week Ryan was away. He was waking up every 20 minutes overnight. But they have settled down now. He has, on the bottom, you can see his 2 teeth just under the gums, but they haven't cut through yet. So we're waiting on that. They've probably been there for at least a week or so. So from what I've heard, they can come up and down a lot. So we're just waiting on them to cut. Hey! And in the meantime, he pulls at his ears quite a lot, but only ever when he is asleep or like going to bed. And he actually scratches his ears and makes them bleed, which is just really, really horrible. I've had 2 doctors check his ears and he definitely doesn't have an ear infection or anything like that. My GP seems to think it's just like he's discovered his ears and stuff, so it's also a bit of a comfort thing as well. So I've been trying to use like little mitten, well, the onesies with the mittens built in at night to try and prevent him from scratching his ears. Yeah. So that's all from his 6-month update, and we will see you guys again for his 7-month update. Bye!